Thanks everyone for attending. I'm really excited and honored to be at this event and to actually be interviewing Marie. So I'll just give a short introduction to Marie Ange. Marie Ange Tagne is a global technology executive, product strategist, coach, mentor, and speaker whose journey from hardship to hope has inspired audiences around the world. She has a deep passion to empower the next generation of leaders, especially women and underrepresented minorities in STEM fields. Marie was born and raised in Cameroon, and she came to the US as an international student as a teenager. And she's since built a thriving career in the tech industry in Silicon Valley while raising a family and also serving on multiple boards. She's also very passionate about her faith work, and she speaks widely on leadership, resilience, and legacy. She holds her doctorate in electrical engineering and computer science from UC Berkeley, and she spent over 2 years in product management leadership, building consumer electronics products that have impacted the lives of billions of users in companies you've definitely heard of, such as Meta, Amazon, Yahoo, Intel, McAfee, and Roku. And she's passionate about redefining success and dismantling barriers. And she uses her story to ignite purpose and faith in others. Welcome, Marie Ange. I just want to tell a little bit about why I'm even here. So Marie and I connected several years ago, actually, through Sidebar, and we had a chat, and then she wrote her book and was looking for some people to review it. And I read the book. I loved the book and her story. I think it's a story that really has to get out there, and she's just accomplished so much and done so much that we won't be able to even barely touch the surface. And then after reading the book and sending her a bunch of feedback, she asked me if I'd be willing to do this interview, which is definitely an honor. So with that, I'm going to give it over to Marie. And before we jump into our questions, so we've got a bunch of questions, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. But I think Marie has some slides she wants to give us. So why don't you take it away, Marie? Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Glenn, for being the MC of this AMA. And I want to thank you, all of you guys, for taking time out of your busy schedule to just attend and just listen to the story and ask questions. So really appreciate it. I don't take it for granted. I want to add, Glenn, that we actually met, few years before Sidebar, and you are the one who told me about Sidebar. You was in a meetup in San Francisco, a small
I'm getting
meetup.
too old. I don't remember anything, but that is
You are the one
amazing.
who
I
told me.
totally forgot about that. Okay,
At
I
the time,
remember now.
at the time I didn't join, but I was asking you a lot of questions about Sidebar. So I just want to say thank you. And I joined like a few months after, or maybe 6 months after that. And I love it so far. So thank you so much. Yeah, and thank you also for all the feedback on the books. Like you say, when I started this journey in March, and I was looking for some alpha reader, actually very much in the beginning when I just had the first draft, he was one of the people who were willing. People are busy, right? It's difficult to find somebody who have time. He had a flag. You were in Florida for something about your parent, your mom, and you were so kind to say, give me the draft while I'm traveling back to the West Coast. I'm going to read it, and you gave me some good feedback. So really, thank you. So what I want to do for the next few minutes is to share the behind the scene of the book, just to give you a little bit more context. I know Sarah has the book. Maybe some of you guys, you plan to get the book, but I want to share some of the behind the scene to just give you an idea before we jump in the Q&A. So can you guys see this?
Yes.
Okay, so this is actually the book cover, what you will see on Amazon. I spent a lot of time with my designer to get through this book cover. So the whole idea was to show the transition, the evolution from a little girl who was very curious, ambitious, bold, go-getter in a developed country in Central Africa to the US. People have really resonated with the design. But why the title for such a time as this? In the first in the introduction part of the book, I'm talking about the story of Esther in the Bible. For some of you guys who are Christian or who read the Bible, there's a book called Esther, and Esther was a young girl. She was actually a Jewish. She was slave. She was taken in captivity to the kingdom of Persia at the time. Persia was like the United States, was the big kingdom at the time. So she was taken in captivity, and while in captivity, she by circumstance, divine circumstance, she became the queen. She was taken to the palace and became like what the queen. And there was a plot that was made to kill the Jewish people at the time, so her people would be killed. And when she became a queen, nobody knew she was a Jewish. She hid her identity. She just became like a Persian. There are a lot of movie around Esther. You can check it on, I think, Amazon and Netflix. Many movies have been done. So she was just like a Persian girl, and she hid her Jewish identity. So when her people were supposed to be killed, her uncle Mordecai, who raised her, told her, sent a message and told her that your people are going to be killed. Don't you think that maybe you were taken to the kingdom to become the queen for such a time as this, that instead of being silent, can you do something about that? Can you do something? Now you are the queen next to the king, right? Next to the king of Persia who wants to kill the Jewish. Maybe you are taken to the kingdom for such a time like this. So that story in itself, I've been reading that story for the last 20 years. I put that in my introduction, that we all have it for such a time as this in our life, that our past experience, right? She was a slave. She went through probably atrocity, a lot of crazy stuff. Eventually, she made it to the kingdom. But now there's something that is happening, and she's going to be the answer to help her people not to be killed. And that's actually what happened. She's going to go talk to the king, get mercy from the king so that the Jewish are not killed. And my take, my perspective into that story is that we all have for such a time as this, where our experience, our past, our failure, all the obstacle, all the mess, all the crazy we went through, is to prepare us for such a time as this. We all have, and my story, I don't think is unique. I'm sure you all have your own story. And my encouragement as I wrote this memoir was, your story is unique, your voice is unique. We all have for such a time as this. Let's use our voice, our influence, our impact, if it's not as tech leader, to make a difference. That's my call to action at the end of the day, to leave the world a better place than we found it. So that's the title, why people have asked me for such a time as this. Now I'm just going to go through like 4 of the key themes that came out of some of the review. I'm getting, guys, amazing positive review from friends, from Amazon reader, people I don't know, from different gender, by the way, different race, different ethnicity, different socio-economic. This message of purpose, of impact, of you can live a life of legacy seems to resonate across faith. You don't have to be a female, you don't have to be a Black female. I've been getting amazing response. So the team that I'm sharing are some of the feedback, or the team that my readers have highlighted. The first one is owning your uniqueness and empowering others. My uniqueness in this book is the fact that I was born and raised in Central Africa. I came from a humble beginning, very humble roots. And I remember I used to try to hide that background, right? I would think maybe sometime ashamed because of the narrative, and I'm being vulnerable. It's a small group. The narrative that you have out there with, Africa, people just see the bad stuff, right? So I didn't own that. I didn't want to bring it up front. So when I was looking for a subtitle, many subtitles actually came. I thought about redefining success. All the subtitles that you see in all the leadership and techie or book that you've been redefining success, breaking barrier. My coach in as I was writing, I have a writer coach. She told me, what is unique about your story is the fact that you are a woman who came from Africa. How many look like you in Silicon Valley? And as I look around, I didn't see many. I know Aisha Evans, she's the CEO of Zooks. I don't see a lot of African women. Yes, you can have some Black women, and we need even more, but African women, that uniqueness. So I use it as my subtitle, From Humble Roots, and it has resonate. I didn't know when I share about my background in Africa, people are really like learning about Africa. And I think Glenn has some question about that and how I came as an international student. So your uniqueness, each one of us will have uniqueness. I want to call it out. Empowering others is another point that I'm really bringing out of my memoir, that when you reach somewhere like Esther, look behind and empower other people. I'm so passionate about how do we raise the next generation of leaders. I have 2 kids, and my heart is, what legacy do I want to leave? I want my legacies, not what I've left behind in terms of money, in terms of material thing, but lifting other people. So that's one key theme in the book. The other one is journey of resilience, grit, and purpose. When you read throughout my story, and Glenn, we're going to touch about it in some of the questions you're going to ask, a lot of resilience. I went down so many times, broke, no money when I came as an international student, rejection after rejection when I was looking for my first summer research program because I was not qualified, working like crazy hour in the evening in a fast food and studying, like just resilience. Even in tech, it's been not always shining, but falling down and standing up again. So that story of resilience needs to be shared. That probably you too, you have your own story, but that through your obstacle and all the challenge that you go through, there's a strength that actually become your purpose, how you can have impact in the future. That comes out a lot in my book. The other one that has been also highlighted that I think was not quite intentional as I was writing the book was faith. I'm a person of faith. I was not trying to make this book like a Christian or a faith book, but as I look at my journey, my faith in God, my faith in Christ has helped me through different downturn, different season to look back and say, okay, how do I overcome this challenge? I trust God. And every time you will see that in a memo, I trust God that He's good, He's faithful, He's in control, even when I don't understand what is happening. So it comes out in different shape and form. A podcaster, Ying Zhang, actually interviewed me last Friday. She's a podcast. She does a woman in technology, and the thing that she captured in the book, I was not intentional. She said 84 times you call faith, which was interesting because I didn't count. But she said your faith actually helped me. And she asked me an amazing question: what advice will you give? What she says is that she didn't know that there were people of faith in Silicon Valley. She thought people who come to Silicon Valley are for money, for fame, for IPO, which I am not blaming people, but that's not my goal, right? I was telling her that, and she said, what advice do you have for people who are burned out by Silicon Valley? I've seen your faith has helped you. So that's another theme that people have called out. And finally, I call it as immigration as a pseudo team. Again, this was not intentional, by the way. I'm not a political person. I'm not trying to make a political statement in the book. I am not Democrat, Republican, whatever it is. I am not. I was sharing my experience as an international student, right? Somebody coming in a new country. My mom paid everything she had, 10 years of her life, for me to be one semester in America, and then I'm broke. And I start from the bottom, working, cleaning bathroom, being blue collar basically. But because of my work ethic, excellence, I start getting opportunities that have opened door for me to get to Berkeley and eventually in Silicon Valley. The question, she made a comment, I have it here. As I read about your leaving your home for Virginia, that's where I had my undergrad, and all the overwhelming newness of your experience, I became so sad to think that the current administration policy are shutting down the possibility of so many doing the same thing. We go to protest, rally, write letter, and vote, but getting our country back is going to make more than that. So this is not I was not intentionally trying to make an immigration thing, but this is something that somebody picked. So I'm sharing like different layer that has been interesting for me when people are giving me feedback of the book. So I just wanted to start with that, and now we can go to Q&A. I know, Glenn, you have some more deeper question that we can go more detail.
Thank you, Marie. I think some of the questions I think you've touched on, but first off, congratulations on the book launch. That's awesome. My review is there, but I should probably get that review into your Amazon reviews as well if it's not there. But it's on the book, so
Yeah.
it's in the book. Thank you so much. Well, I wanted to start off talking about your experience growing up in Central Africa, in Cameroon, and how has that shaped you? And one of the things I think you touched on is there's so many people here that have so many biases and don't really understand or appreciate the richness of continental Africa, and would love for you to share about your own experience, what it was like growing up and how that shaped you.
Thank you, Glenn, for the question. I really appreciate that question. I think we are all the product of our environment, a big part of us, and then nurture how you continue to take advantage of the opportunity to learn and grow yourself. So definitely my environment has a big part of who I am and who I became. First, I know most of us here, probably we don't think like other people that Africa is a country. It's not a country, it's a continent. It's 52 countries, different culture, different expression, different religion, different food. I mean, really, it's really different. So when I came to the US, I remember I had to tell me about, my friend from Zimbabwe. No, I don't know your friend from Zimbabwe because it's not a country, it's actually a continent. So I grew up in Central Cameroon. Cameroon is known for soccer. It's if you love soccer. Like we had a good soccer team. We beat Argentina. The World Cup 1990, Maradona, they were the world champion at the time. So we were on the underdog. We played the first game and Cameroon beat Argentina 1-0. So people who love soccer, when I say I'm from Cameroon, they remember that period. Another big, UFC, there's Francis Ngannou. If you're into boxing and into martial art, we have a famous Cameroonian who has been doing well recently. His name is Francis Ngannou. So these are some of the two people of moment of fame of Cameroon, but it's definitely a poor country. But the cultural value are so rich. What I've learned, and I'm touching that actually part of my memoir is very educational too. When I come to the US, I start contrasting the way I grew up, some of the way I was raised, and the African, my Cameroonian culture compared to the US culture. Family was the big thing for us, right? Your family is like your world. You and family it's not just your mom and your dad, it's the auntie. We had a lot of auntie, even neighbors, even like people that know you since you are a baby, so they pour into your life. So it's not a individualist society, it's a community, it's a family. People really believe in you. Even when they send you to the US, it's everybody who come and bless you. Even if they have $1, it means a lot. They put you in marriage. We want you to succeed. And the success of the kid is the success of the whole tribe. So it's very family. We spend a lot of time in food. The way people come together is in food. I was sharing some experience when I came. It was when you eat, it's your individual. So you eat food was just in the campus, just eating quickly and going to get the next thing. In Cameroon, it's actually like an event where people sit and you pass down knowledge. The elder pass the knowledge to the young kids. So it's a oral culture. A lot of oral things are being passed down from one to the other one. Very proud of the Cameroon has 200 tribes. So 200 tribes is 200 language. Languages, they speak different things. So my mom is from a different tribe than my dad. They spoke different things. They eat different food. They have different cultural artifact, like the art and all that. So the cultural heritage is very rich. What else can I bring? So these are the stuff that I remember being growing up. The family, your uncle is like your dad, your aunt is like your mom, right? You can go to the neighbors and they really care. A neighbor can discipline you. There's no, like, if they see that Marianne, she's not doing the right thing, they can discipline and say, I'm going to tell your mom. So that family spirit was something. So I was raised by a community, which in America, you tend to be more like your dad or your mom, your little place. So that's, yeah. But
What
what I
did
can,
you what did you aspire when you were younger, when you were growing up? What were your aspirations of who you wanted to be and the impact you wanted to have in the world at a young age?
I actually shared that in the first chapter, where I have my conversation with one of my auntie, and she asked me, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" I told her I want to be the first woman to go to the moon. I was very, very bold. I was very ambitious. I I was one of those girls who was just ahead of her time, I think, for my culture, because people were very, you don't speak up what is in your mind. I was not ashamed to, maybe that's why I become a technologist. I was not ashamed to share what I wanted. I want to go to the moon. I wanted to come to the US. And I was dreaming those big dream, and people, who is going to pay for that, right? Because, I mean, come on, my mom didn't have the money. So my parents divorced when I was very young. I was raised by a single mom. So I was really like an ambitious, always asking why, always questioning the what is accepted by all the other kids, what is tradition, why are we doing this, why don't we do different. So that was part of my, that's just my personality. That's an
Curiosity.
Yes, that's my personality. Even today, I always, when I raise my kids, I tell my daughter, always ask why. Don't accept don't accept everything for granted. Ask why. And that's how, as a scientist, even very young, right, that my mind is, that a scientist start developing. um I really care for people. People say when there was injustice in school, I was the one to speak up. I was the one, I would go in trouble to speak up for something that is not right. And today I'm still the same person. I'm always getting in trouble because sometimes I speak up, like, just, yeah, this is not right.
I think we share in that one. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that, and for giving us a lens into life and what it was like growing up and the communal aspect. I actually have a very good friend. His name is Noah Addy, who also is from Cameroon. He's a very successful technologist, and he's worked at Microsoft, Concur, a number of other companies, been a founder. And he talked to me about what you said about the fact that, like, as somebody from Cameroon, he feels like he's representing his entire
Mhm.
community, and everybody was so interested in like what he was doing, and the lifting part too. Like, so that's amazing to hear that story, and I think it's something we growing up here don't necessarily get that same experience. As you said, we're very independent, and yeah, even the connections we have to our families, especially in European culture. Um, so what was it like? You mentioned, coming to the U.S. as an international student. So you talked about how you had your dreams, like your dreams really drove you. You didn't get to the moon yet, but you had big dreams, and they drove you, across the ocean to the United States. What was that like? And of course, it was a different time when you came.
Yeah.
So I imagine it was not easy. Um, but you talk a lot about this in your book, but I'd love to hear in your own words, like what were you thinking, and what was it like setting foot in the United States, and that whole experience as a student, and how did you manage?
Great question. I actually want to start with getting getting admitted to the US, which is maybe foreign, and having again, I'm talking to maybe many of us who, now I feel like I'm privileged. My kids are privileged. They were born in the US. They have the US passport. That passport, the blue passport. I tell my kids, you are privileged just having this passport. You don't even have to have much. Having this passport is a benefit.
Even more privileged these days.
Yes. So in Cameroon, right? I mean, when I finished I was the best in. I mentioned about my go-getter attitude, ambitious girl. starting, I love science. I was the best in high school. I started science in high school. I was doing mathematics. In Cameroon, we followed I didn't talk about colonization. Cameroon was colonized by French and England. So I was in the French part. So my first language is French. So we follow the French educational system where you get to pick a major in high school. So I picked mathematics. So I started mathematics very young, and you have a baccalaureate. If you study abroad, there's actually a degree you get in high school. Very hard, very competitive. So I got the baccalaureate in mathematics. So as I was planning to come to the US, I had those big dreams. My parents divorced when I was 5. My dad really didn't take care of us. I love him. I bless his heart. Nothing personal, but my mom really took everything on her. She saved. She was a medical doctor by herself. She was a trailblazer. In her time in Cameroon, you didn't see many women who did what she did. So she was working like 80 hours a week, raising 2 girls, me and my older sister. She saved. In America, being a doctor is like a big, in terms of the financial income. I did the math when I was writing my book. It was $200 per month for a medical doctor, $200. So it's not the same. So imagine my tuition is 15,000 for a semester, and she make $200 a month. So we have to eat, pay the rent. So she saved basically, I would say, at least 10 years of her life for one semester. So when she knew that I really wanted to come to the US, I was passionate about the US. She said, if we can find an admission for you in the US, I will do everything to get you there. So by the time I got the admission from a family friend who was already here, he find me an admission. She put together 15 US dollars. It's in my book, 15 US dollars. I was crying when I saw that money. It was 10 years. That's all she had. That's all she almost put her house into the market for me to come to the US for 1 year. I am forever grateful for my mom. She's my role model. But now let me tell you about the visa. I'm talking about the whole, you have 15,000, you are a bright student, you still have to get a visa, a US visa to come to America. It's not like you have it, you come. No. Many people have all that. They go to the US embassy, they don't get the visa. So that's a big hurdle. It's not, yeah, if you haven't been on the other side, you don't understand. So, and they can refuse visa for any reason. They can think, okay, you want to come back here, you're not going to go to school, or you're not going to come back to your country, because eventually as an international student, you need to come back to your country. When I got to the embassy that day, I still remember the scene, and it's in my book. It's so special because it's in my book. I was so scared. I was like, I have all this, but this consul can still refuse me the visa. And I just pray again, my faith, God help me, just have your way. And all the people, I still remember all the young people that were coming before me, they were crying. They didn't get the visa. So you are scared. You're like, what am I going to, why is she going to? So the lady, the consul, just look at all my documentation. I did a tough test of English as a foreign language, transcript, the bank statement from my mom. She sat on the transcript. I was an A student all my high school. She didn't even look at the money part. She didn't look at all the other document. And she took a pause. I still remember, because my heart was beating so fast. After a while, she said, Miss Ayum, you are a bright and a brilliant student. America will be lucky to have you. So I don't care if you ever come back to Cameroon, but I will encourage you to come back, because this country needs people like you. I still cry when I think about that, because I was 18, right? I didn't know the US. I didn't have any family. I didn't even know what she was talking about at that time, right? You're a kid. You're just trying to go. She said, they will want to keep you because you are bright. The other kids, she refused the visa to all the other kids. So she saw something in me as an 18 years teenager trying to leave my home country and go to a foreign land. She said, I see what will happen, but don't forget. So when I write that part, I'm actually writing for African young people. As I write this part, I'm thinking about you guys, that remember I was right there, and I tell them the sky's the limit. You can accomplish whatever. Somebody saw something in me. She decided to give me a chance. So now coming to the US, so I wanted to touch that part, because people don't realize what it is to get that visa. Today I'm a US citizen, right? So you go all over the world, you take it for granted. But if you don't have the US passport, it's not easy to get the visa. So as an international student, my mom paid for my first semester. And after that, they didn't have the money. I told you guys it's 15,000. I think you guys know the cost of if you have college kids, right? I heard now it's maybe 20, 30K, depending on what school you go. So mine was 15,000. The first semester, the money was over. So what did I do? I had to start, struggle, find whatever I can find. I applied to so many things, bookstore, anything that you can think as a student. Many of you guys, maybe you work. I couldn't find anything. The best I could find was in a fast food, not far from my school, where I was turning burgers and starting really from the bottom. Really from the bottom, I was making minimum wage, $5 an hour. Working in the evening, I was working maybe 88 hours in the evening. You finish school at 4, you go to work, you work from maybe 5 p.m. to, I don't know, 10 p.m. I was always closing the fast food. Why am I sharing that story? Because I have an appreciation for people who are blue collar. I was one of those. I was cleaning the bathroom. I was sweeping all the mess that the customer do. I receive a lot of insult because of my accent. People say you don't speak English. You don't even know how to speak English. I was trying to make it through in school as an undergrad. I was getting straight A's, but in the evening I was working in fast food. And I'll cherish that experience. I cherish what he has taught me. He has taught me humility. He has taught me when I go to fast food or I see a blue collar, I care. You don't know the story of that person. I tell the same thing to my kids. You don't know the story. I give good tips. I encourage those people because that's where I started. But I continue to work hard in school, as working in the evening and still going to school. I had 4.0 GPA. I didn't have a life. I really didn't have a life. I still remember I come back from an 8-hour shift doing homework. I was mathematics and computer science, doing lab, going the next day. I was sleeping sometimes just on my desk. And I finished my bachelor 4 years in 2 years and a half because I was taking 28 units. I was trying to get out of school. I didn't have the money. My mom couldn't afford. She already gave 10 years of her math. How much more can I ask her? I didn't have
I
any.
remember when I was reading your book and you were talking about how many classes you were taking and working.
Yes.
Working full time, multiple jobs.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes, that was me. That was me. And I learned a lot through that season. I learned about my book is a lot about resilience. It's about don't take your obstacle as something that will keep you down. I took those obstacles and I say, I want to succeed. They actually want me to become a technologist, to become the next person that is going to help that blue collar. Because when I finish my work in the fast food, I said, I'm never going to work in the fast food anymore. I was that determined. It gave me a new determination. So I appreciate and cherish those moments. It gave me a new compassion. But my message here is that your story, your past, what you've been through, right, should be that spring, I don't know how the spring hole to take you to your future. You don't have your obstacle are not the end. Take those obstacles and make something out of that to become a better person, to leave the world a better place.
Great. Can you talk more? You've mentioned a few times about your time in the tech industry, which is where you are now. Can you talk about, as you made that transition, getting into tech, what were the biggest challenges that you faced, and what helped you to navigate that?
Thank you for the question. I think one of the biggest challenge, people who are the only one in the room will identify to that. It's, as a Black woman, as a even immigrant, my accent, I was conscious of all that. Is the fact that you always have to prove that you belong to the room. Really, I mean, I've always been the only one in many of the, either when I apply for a job, either when I'm in a room, either, when I'm in a decision room. So I always felt that I have to show that I deserve. I have to work as twice as hard. I have to be twice as good. I have to. It's that constant. Even today, even after all my accomplishment, I still feel that pressure. That you always have to show that you are here because you deserve. I've seen her. I really appreciate the whole inclusion, diversity. I've seen that he has gone to the other side of the coin. But this is a conversation that if you haven't been the minority in the room, you don't understand the pressure and the what it takes to be able to just show off every day. And that's for me what I call inclusion. It's not you And Glenn, you and I will talk about that because you are also passionate about inclusion. It's not that you take somebody who is well-deserved, that you take the place of somebody. That's not actually true. That's not true, right? Because I've heard some of these conversations, and he heard me, and I'm sure maybe some of this initiative in different companies have gone the wrong way, that we say, let's just stop this whole crap. But for me, it's like understanding as a minority that it actually takes twice courage, twice work, twice. It doesn't mean that the majorities doesn't, they didn't earn their place. They earn their place. But I said, as a minority, you really have to show up like you always have that imposter syndrome. Do I really belong? And then you work twice as hard. That's for me. How do we then, as leader today, we are all leader in the technology. How do we reach out? How do we make those rooms more inclusive? Because it's not gonna happen automatically. How do we bring, and it doesn't only have to be race or gender. I'm thinking about like religion, right? You told me you are Muslim, and different even sexual orientation. Different. We need different perspective, and that's how we build better product. So inclusion now is very. I'm passionate about that. I don't want to go to the DEI conversation, but I want to have a diverse perspective in the room, because I feel like for me that has been a big one. How do I get into all these different rooms? I say Black woman, immigrant from Africa, and finding my ground.
Well, and as you said, it's, the people that are building products shape them, right? So that has been something very important to me, which is, there's the DEI angle of like, how do we create an environment where more people can be successful? But then there's the other side, which is we're building products, and the people that are making the decisions about those products has a deep impact, either a decision or a lack of a decision. Mm-hmm. And we're definitely seeing this now, especially with the rise in AI and bias models and people that just don't ask certain questions. That if you have more representation, those questions will more likely get asked, which will result in a better experience. We definitely share in that passion.
I think this actually connected us when you were working on your inclusion startup.
Product equity work. Yes, it's still ongoing. I'm still working on it. It's going to be my lifelong thing. Mm-hmm. So you've also been very passionate about STEM work, especially helping women from underrepresented groups. Can you talk about your work there and what you found has been most effective, most helpful? What's needed?
Yeah, beautiful question. Why am I passionate again about STEM? I told you guys that my passion for mathematics, science, physics started when I was very young in Cameroon, not even in the US. Same as in Cameroon, is the same problem that we have in the US. I was the only one in my high school. I was doing mathematics. There were not many girls. The girls were taught very young that math and science is for boys. I don't know where it's coming from. Maybe they are not smart enough. I don't know. They just need to do some literature. Most of them were doing English, French, stuff that are not, you don't, logical, problem solving. And it continues. I mean, if you don't have the pipeline when you are in elementary school, middle school, high school, so as you go to university, college, less women get to involve in STEM, and then grad school, and then work is the same thing. So you have to start big, very, very young. I see that also in the US. Berkeley, I was the only female in my research group. I was probably the only Black. I was the first African born to get a degree. I explained that scene. I have that scene in my memoir as I was standing and getting my PhD from one of the best institutions, from one of the best professor in the world. I look and I stand in the shoulder of giants. There were 3 African-American women before me, but I was the first African-born woman to get the degree. So now I'm becoming a role model. I'm sharing that to many Black women, many people from Africa. We have Marie Tagne ahead. We can do that. So my passion is, how do we start very young? Very young. It's not when college is too far. I'm giving you the example. I have my niece, my sister is in Germany, my older sister. She's throughout my book. We were 2 girls raised by a single mom, and she moved to Germany when I moved to the US. She has 4 girls. So one of the girl, Carissa, came and lived with me in the US last year. So I was her, almost like her mom. I adopted her, and she was 14 at the time, no 15, 16 at the time. Now she's 18. And I was trying to get her interest in, we live in Los Gatos in California. We have a good public school district. I was trying to get her to take more science class, more math class in high school, because I wanted her to do an undergrad in science, in STEM. She was scared. She was not interested. And the more I talked to her, the more I realized that since she was a elementary school, middle school, she didn't have the good grades. She didn't have the good role model. She was not doing well. So high school was already too late. I'm giving you an example. She eventually, right now, I think she's want to do.
So you need to start much earlier, is what I'm hearing.
So I'm part of different nonprofit, different outreach. One of them is Green Scholar Program here in the Bay Area, where it's a monthly program. I am a mentor. I lead career day. We help. The goal of the organization is to enable STEM competency and confidence in people of minority of African descent. So my daughter is actually part of the program. It's a very prestigious program. You have to apply, get a letter of recommendation. She was second grade, transcript, almost like you're applying for college. That was interesting. But it's a very, very selected program. And because they put a lot of resource, the parents are volunteer. Once a month, it's not every Saturday, they do like science fair. She put together she talked about thermodynamic at 9. She talked about thermodynamic. Even me, I started talking about thermodynamic when I was in college. So they do thermodynamic. I see some of the stuff that they do. They do career day. They get to do interview, mock-up, CV at that age, to be confident, to be able to sell themselves. So I am very passionate. Let's start small. Let's start young, when the mind of the kid is still like, the sky's the limit, flexible. They don't have any preconception. So that's what I've learned. That's one of the key learning. That
starting early, making sure you're building early and educating and not waiting. Yeah, another organization I'll mention that I've been pretty involved with is called Tech Bridge Girls.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
And I used to be very involved with them, and they're also similar STEAM, focused on underrepresented communities. But that's great. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I want to make sure we open it up for Q&A, but before we do, and I have so many more questions, but I'm going to hold those back just so we can get other people to ask theirs. But I'm going to ask you one more question, which is, this is a very sidebar thing, but if you had to describe your life in 6 words, Larry will be very happy to know I'm doing this. What would they be? And then we'll open it up for Q&A.
You gave me that prompt, so I had to quickly think. I think the 6th word will be faith, because my faith of God, I think, determine and is the foundation of everything I do. That's number 1. Wife, I try to prioritize my life like that. Faith, wife. I have an amazing husband. I don't think I would have done anything that I do without the help of a partner who really love me and support me, because I go all over the world, speak and all that. He's the one taking care of the kids. So I'm a wife, mom. My kids are my life. If you're a parent, you understand that. I love them to death. And now all the mom and grandma tell me that, make sure you pour into those kids. They only have maybe 5 or 6 years with you in the house. Glenn, you have a big kid. They will grow and be on their own. So it's
about to turn 21 in days.
Yep. Everybody tell me the same thing. It goes fast. So I'm trying to.
First, she's going to be 21. So,
oh my goodness.
It goes fast.
Number 3 is mom. And 4 is technology. I love technology. I love STEM. I love science. I always want to, be involved and give back. Yeah. Number, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4. Number 5 is legacy. I've been writing this book. I've been thinking about, what do I want to be remembered? What do I want to give to the next generation? And number 6, I think it's the same thing. Impact. I want to live a life of impact. That when people, when I finish my last day on this earth, people will say that was a life well lived. And for me, it's not by the money, it's not by the fame, right? I want to make a difference in person like Glenn, personal people, everyday people, yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thank you. This has been such a great conversation. I want to open it up with QA. I just want to mention, definitely get Marie's book. and also learn about the purpose framework, which we didn't have time to dive into, but you will learn more about it in the book, though many of the ideas in the purpose framework did come out within this conversation. Okay, we got 10 minutes, so I'm going to open it up for QA. You can either ask, in the chat. We're not that many, so you can also just come off mute and just ask Marie your questions. And thank you, Marie.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Hey, Marie, I have a question for you.
Yes.
So, firstly, so much of your story is resonates, but just in a different way to me. I also moved here from a different country, but like a very different story. But what resonated is that you sat in rooms where you're like looking on how to belong, and just trying to find, you're always hustling, you're being brave, you have a lot of resilience in your journey. I was curious, what do you do to take care of yourself? Because it seems like so much of you showing up in this world is to, progress you and your life so that your family can be taken care of, your loved ones can be taken care of, but you're always on, right? You're always on, you're trying to prove yourself, you're trying to gain that credibility. What do you do to take care of yourself?
Well, thank you, Teresa. This is a very beautiful question, especially for us women who are trying to have it all, having a career, growing in the whatever you call it, American dream, the ladder, the corporate ladder, maybe having kids. You want to give back to the community. You want to help other people. You have girlfriends. Sometimes I feel bad. I haven't called my girlfriend for like a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. What I've learned, I can have it all. I think I don't know who said that the first, but I cannot have it all at the same time. Does that make sense? You can have it all. You can have a life fulfilled for what it means for you. Who is Teresa? Who is Marie-Ange? What makes me happy? Again, the 6 words that I say, faith, family, my husband, my kids, all that are the stuff that fulfill me. But depending on the season, one thing will give away. One thing will give away. I remember sometime I had to travel, like last year when I was at Meta, I was in the plane in Morocco to go to speak to tech women. I do a lot of tech women stuff in Africa. Then I was in another plane in UK to go to speak to my engineering team. I didn't see my daughter for 2 weeks. I missed her fencing. She's doing fencing. I felt so sad and so bad. I was actually crying. I was crying and I apologized when I came and see her. And I got to the point, there's a chapter actually in my book I talk about that where I don't want to be guilty anymore. I know what are the priority, right? God is first, my family. I try my best every day. How do I take off, spend time with God, meditate in the morning? I exercise. Exercising helping. We know, I think in Silicon, many of us in Silicon Valley, we do a lot of exercise. I just talked to Glenn. I did CrossFit at 6 a.m. this morning. It held my sanity. It held my sanity. Then how do I bring my husband there or my kids and all that? And then work on the nonprofit. Depending on the season, if I'm launching a product, if I'm something is red in my roadmap and I have to give a presentation to my CEO, to my VP, my family might be in the back burner that week. But the next week I make it up. Like when I came back from UK, I took my daughter to Thailand. We went to Thailand for a mother and daughter date, right? So I refuse to be guilty anymore because I don't think balance will happen at the same time, right? Depending on what is happening in the life at that moment, one thing can take the precedence, but I know what are the priority. I know that right now, my family is definitely priority because these kids will grow up and they will never, I want them to come back and talk to me in the future, right? Mommy, I love you. Mommy, I care, right? So how do I pour into them? My husband too, I don't want to divorce. I don't want to be in a point where, because I didn't spend time in that relationship. But how do I manage that all the time? It's difficult. It's difficult. I just try to balance the way, depending on what is happening. And be also open to your partner, to your family. I talk to my kids every day about what is happening. Now I'm looking for a new job. They know mommy is looking for a new job. I have an interview here and they are praying for me. They are cheering me up. My husband knows the same thing. He knows I have all these podcasts. My book came out. People are asking me for podcasts. So they support me. They encourage me. They cheer me up despite the fact that it's difficult to have all at the same time. Does that help?
No, it's beautiful. Thank you for sharing. I'm sure the 6 a.m. CrossFit is key to starting your day.
You got it. I exercise every morning. That I cannot compromise my exercise. I try to make it to the gym. Yeah.
Thanks
Okay,
for
Sarah
sharing.
has a question.
All right.
Go ahead, Sarah.
Thanks, Marie. This is great. So I know we didn't get into the framework, right, around purpose and around emotional freedom and aligning. What are some steps you think that are practically people can take in trying to replicate or gain the values that you have growing up in Cameroon, right? It's a very village, very communal mindset. And in Silicon Valley, sometimes it's very the opposite, survival of the fittest, right? Go, go, go. How are you replicating and building a community to support you? Because it seems that you have one, right? And what are some practical steps that folks can do to create that type of community?
Beautiful question too. Beautiful question. It's part of the purpose framework. We didn't have chance to talk about that, but I want to talk about the O, others focus leadership. Just a quick synopsis of the purpose. I use purpose to share some practical way how you can live a life of purpose. And P means means something. URPOSE. They have some meaning. So when you go to the book, you would see that. But the O in that purpose means others focus leadership. My life has, like you said, I think that comes a lot from being raised in a communal African environment where community really matters. You are not where you are by yourself, Sarah. You are there because you stand in the shoulder of giants. My mom was my role model. My auntie, I can count where I sat down with auntie, even though my dad was not around. My uncle who told me, Marianne, you can be yourself. You can speak up. Don't be afraid to speak up. So all these people made me who I am. And it's the same thing here. I live in Silicon Valley. Of course, it's individualist. I think so. I think I built a very, very good community. Let me tell you practical stuff that I do. Every holiday, like the 4th of July is coming up, Memorial Day, I bring together our neighborhood, different home. I go with my daughter, we put flyers at the door of people. Let's get together for potluck, for community, to get to know people. Which people were surprised that we've never done that before you join, just to get to know people's story. Sit down with your neighbor. I'm just giving something as simple as that. It's not complicated. It doesn't have anything to do with technology. It's something just to care about where the other person is coming from, understand their story, and build a relationship so that when you need something, Sarah, you know, Marie-Ange is in technology. It's easy now to say, Marie-Ange, I've seen, you know, this person in this company, or you work in this company. And my neighbor have done that. I mentored the kid of my next door neighbor because she wants to go to Meta. She asked me to connect her. I was able to help her. So just being able to bring that community spirit, I think that comes from my African background. I think so. And people really appreciate. Other thing that I've learned, giving back. That's the other focus leadership. I want to believe I'm not selfish. Even as I'm looking for a job, I think I told you that feedback, Sarah. Before I ask help to somebody, I say, how can I help you?
Marie,
And the more
we have 2 minutes, and I do need 30 seconds before we end. Just wanted to.
So helping other people in their journey is a big one. Start by, how can I help you, before you ask for help? Yeah, I will stop here. And we can chat more, Sarah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, Marie. Thank you, everybody, for coming to this event. Sidebar really prides doing these events where we get to feature our community, and we'd also love your feedback. So if you can follow the link that's there, I will put it into the chat as well. And then, yeah, we'd love to get your feedback. If I can put this into the chat.
And thank you so much for the 6 of you or 7 who joined. I know this is probably not the best time of the day, but I really appreciate your question. Yeah.
Can we put the I'm having problems with the QR code? Can we
I just copied the link into the second one into the chat. You should be able to use that. And Marie, this is recorded, so it'll get published on YouTube as well.
Okay.
So more people will be able to get it, and it can be
Okay.
amplified. So thank you so much for this session. As I said, it was an honor for me to interview you. Congratulations on your book. Thank you for having this. We're fortunate to have this private chat with you before you go to superstardom with your book. We'll be like, we were there. We were in that chat.
Thank you so much.
I'm so excited for you, Marie, and also that you're finding benefit in the Sidebar community. We're definitely lucky to have you. I think you were one of my best referrals. That's awesome. And everybody have a good rest of your day, and thanks again for joining us.
Thank you so much.